You wake up before the sun, not because you chose to, but because a digital alarm clock on your nightstand tells you that your time belongs to someone else. You stumble into the kitchen, press a button on a machine that costs $300, and drink bitter water while scrolling through a glass screen to watch strangers pretend their lives are better than yours. You drive a car to an office you despise, sitting in a line of metal boxes filled with people doing the exact same thing, all of them smiling through clenched teeth. And why? Because at the end of every month, a string of numbers appears in a digital ledger, giving you just enough oxygen to keep you alive until the next deposit. You call this living. The system calls it compliance. Look closely at your hands. They're soft, aren't they? They haven't built anything with wood or stone or iron in years. Instead, they tap on glass, signing away 40, 50, 60 hours a week of your finite existence in exchange for scraps of paper that lose value the second you touch them. You think you're building a future. You think that promotion, that shiny new title on a corporate email signature, or that tiny bump in your yearly review is a step toward freedom. It's not. It's just a thicker leash. It's a gold-plated cage built by architects who know that if they make the prison look nice enough, you'll never try the door handle. Consider the modern illusion of the American middle class. It's a masterpiece of behavioral engineering. You aren't paid in wealth, you're paid in liquidity. And liquidity is designed to burn a hole in your pocket before the sun sets. The moment your direct deposit hits, an invisible, mechanical claw reaches into your account and strips away 60% of it before you've even had time to blink. Mortgage payments for a house that is 4 times too large, car notes for an SUV that spends 90% of its time parked in a concrete lot, and a dozen micro-subscriptions bleeding $5 here and $10 there. You look at your peers and you feel this quiet, gnawing panic. Your neighbor just posted pictures of a vacation in a place you can't even pronounce, driving a rental convertible that he financed at 14% interest. You feel inadequate. You feel left behind. So what do? You double down. You work harder at a job that drains your soul, trading your health, your peace of mind, and your youth for a bigger paycheck that immediately buys you a heavier anchor. It's a vicious, silent feedback loop. You consume to soothe the pain of working, and you work harder to pay for the consumption. The bankers, the corporations, and the merchants of status aren't even hiding it anymore. They put the trap right out in the open, paint it neon, and call it the American dream. And the most terrifying part? You walked right into it, smiled for the photograph, and locked the padlock from the inside. Take a hard look at your credit profile. That 3-digit score you protect with the religious zeal of a medieval monk isn't a badge of honor. It's a risk assessment metric built by institutions to measure how efficiently you can be milked. A high score doesn't mean you're wealthy. It means you are a premier pet, a domesticated animal that handles debt with supreme obedience. You borrow money, you don't have to buy things you don't need, to impress people you don't even like, all to boost a number on a server owned by a corporation that sells your financial habits to the highest bidder. You walk into a dealership with a credit score of 800, feeling like a king, ready to sign away 7 years of your life for a depreciating asset wrapped in leather and chrome. The salesman shakes your hand, smiles with teeth that look too white to be real, and hands you a contract with terms so predatory they'd make a loan shark blush. But you sign it. You sign it because your ego demands validation, and society taught you that the size of your monthly payment is the direct conversion of your human worth. You drive off the lot, smelling that toxic cocktail of cheap plastics and artificial glue, feeling a momentary surge of dopamine that vanishes the exact moment you hit the first red light and realize your monthly payment is now larger than your grandmother's first mortgage. And that is just the surface level of the grand theater. Every single facet of your daily routine has been monetized down to the second. You are exhausted by Tuesday afternoon, drained from staring at spreadsheets and nodding at meetings that could have been an email. So you order a $30 meal through an app on your phone. You pay a markup on the food, a delivery fee, a service fee, and a tip, all because you are too psychologically depleted to boil a pot of water. You are trading hours of your actual life for temporary convenience, funding your own exhaustion with the very wages you earn by being exhausted. It's a brilliant, airtight cycle of economic extraction. The system relies entirely on your inability to connect today's impulsive purchase with tomorrow's quiet desperation. You tell yourself you deserve this treat because you work hard. But let's be entirely honest with ourselves for a second. You don't deserve a treat. You deserve autonomy. You deserve to wake up without a knot in your stomach and a calendar full of other people's emergencies. Instead, you trade the only resource that is truly irreplaceable, time, for a series of temporary distractions that leave you feeling emptier than before. You are running faster and faster on a polished hardwood floor, convinced that if you just sprint hard enough, the floor will turn into a highway. But it never does. It just gets faster, louder, and harder to breathe. And the worst part is not that you are trapped in this loop. The worst part is that you've started defending the machinery that grinds you down. You've convinced yourself that this is just what being an adult means. But behind that quiet resignation, there is a lingering, terrifying question that keeps you awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling while the digital clock glows in the dark, whispering about what would happen if the music finally stopped. The illusion doesn't just live in your driveway or your garage. It follows you home, creeping into the quiet hours of the evening when you're too drained to fight back. This is where the machinery of modern extraction shifts its weight, moving from public performance to private exhaustion. You spend 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day feeding a corporate beast that forgets your name the moment you log off. You trade your cognitive bandwidth, your physical vitality, and your emotional stability for a wage that feels heavy when you earn it, but evaporates like morning mist the moment it hits your online banking dashboard. And when you finally drag your body back to your apartment or your suburban house, you aren't greeted by peace. You're greeted by a mountain of invisible maintenance costs, a stack of bills demanding tribute, and a pervasive, quiet hum of anxiety that never truly turns off. This brings us straight to the hidden gears of the machine. Chapter 1. The Upgraded Cage. Consider the psychological mechanism psychologists call the hedonic treadmill, though you don't need a degree to feel its teeth sinking into your ankles. You get a 3% raise at your annual review, a laughable sum that doesn't even cover the actual cost of living, and instantly, your brain convinces you that you've leveled up. You reward yourself by upgrading your apartment, swapping a modest space for one with a slightly better view, an in-unit washer, and a rent payment that gobbles up half your monthly take-home pay. You trade a reliable, paid-off commuter car for a sleek crossover with a 72-month financing term, convincing yourself that safety and comfort justify the financial anchor chained to your ankle. You haven't escaped anything. You've simply upgraded your prison cell, trading iron bars for polished glass and brushed aluminum. Every single time your income inches upward, your lifestyle expands to swallow the difference before your bank account has even had a chance to catch its breath. The bankers and lenders love this behavior. They bank on your lack of discipline, engineering an economy where financial standing is measured not by what you own, but by how much debt you can comfortably service without having a full psychological breakdown on a Tuesday morning. Look closer at the digital architecture surrounding you. Your phone isn't just a communication device. It's a 24-hour retail terminal wired directly into your dopamine receptors. When you're sitting on the couch at 11 o'clock at night, scrolling through glowing rectangles while your eyes burn from screen fatigue, you aren't relaxing. You're being harvested. Algorithms trained by behavioral scientists track every second of your hesitation, feeding you targeted advertisements designed to exploit your deepest insecurities about your social standing, your appearance, and your future. You see an ad for a weekend getaway, a luxury watch, or a smart home gadget, and your exhausted brain whispers a dangerous rationalization. I work hard. I deserve this. But let's strip away the self-soothing rhetoric and look at the brutal truth. You don't deserve a temporary dopamine hit wrapped in plastic and shipped in a cardboard box. You deserve autonomy. You deserve a life that doesn't require retail therapy to numb the quiet despair of your daily routine. Yet, instead of cutting the cord, you tap a button, save your credit card information, and sign up for another 30 days of financial servitude, willingly feeding the very beast that keeps you locked inside the maze. And that is precisely why the trap is so difficult to break. It isn't built out of steel or concrete. It's built out of your own habits, your conditioned need for external validation, and your terror of being perceived as falling behind. You look at your peers through the distorted lens of social media feeds, measuring your behind-the-scenes reality against their highlight reels. You see the curated vacations, the restaurant dinners, and the milestone purchases, and a quiet panic sets in. You feel like you're losing a race you never actually signed up to run. So you double down. You take on extra projects. You skip family dinners. You sacrifice your sleep. And you trade your physical health for a slightly higher number on your direct deposit stub, all to fund a lifestyle that collapses the moment a single, unexpected medical bill or car repair hits your doorstep. You are running a marathon on a treadmill that accelerates every time you pick up the pace, convinced that if you just sprint hard enough, the floor will turn into solid ground. But it never does. It just gets faster, louder, and harder to breathe. And the most tragic part of the entire spectacle is that you've learned to defend the machinery that grinds you down, wearing your chronic exhaustion like a badge of honor while the architects of the system sit back, count their interest payments, and watch you pay for your own captivity. Now let's pull the financial rug out from under the illusion and look at the brutal, unvarnished math that your bank spends millions of dollars making sure you never calculate for yourself. We are going to examine the true cost of your choices through the lens of pure, undeniable opportunity cost. Every single dollar you hand over to the machinery of status isn't just gone. It represents a stolen future. You sit there convincing yourself that financing a $50,000 crossover with an 84-month loan at 7% interest is a normal part of adult life. Let's run the numbers without the corporate filter. By the time you finally make your last payment on that depreciating asset, you haven't just paid $50,000. You've handed over nearly $70,000 in principal and interest, plus higher insurance premiums, premium fuel, and maintenance costs that sneak up on you like a thief in the night. Now let's apply the principle of opportunity cost to that exact same cash flow. If you took that monthly payment, let's say $800, and redirected it into a broad market index fund, compounding at a modest historical average over 30 years, You wouldn't just have a used car worth $3,000 at the end of the ride. You would be sitting on over $500,000 of liquid, uncompromised independence. Think about that for a second. You traded a life-changing financial cushion for the transient smell of artificial leather and 6 months of feeling slightly superior to the guy in the next lane during morning rush hour traffic. You traded your future peace of mind for a temporary cosmetic upgrade that nobody even remembers you had 2 years later. The system relies entirely on your complete and utter innumeracy. It relies on the fact that you measure your life in monthly payments instead of total lifetime extraction. They break the costs down into bite-sized monthly chunks, just $400 here, $300 there, so your brain's threat detection system never fires. But the math doesn't care about your rationalizations. The numbers are cold, precise, and unforgiving. Chapter 2. The 30-Day Cliff. This brings us to the terrifying reality of your current balance sheet, a vulnerability so profound it should keep you awake every single night. Look at your checking account right now. If your direct deposits stopped tomorrow morning, if the corporate restructuring email landed in your inbox at 9:02 a.m. telling you your services are no longer required, how many days could you survive before the lights went out and the repo man backed into your driveway? For most of you, the answer is terrifyingly brief. 30 days. Maybe 45 if you max out the emergency plastic rectangle you swore you'd never touch again. You are living on the edge of an economic cliff, separated from absolute ruin by nothing more than a thin thread of continuous employment. You spend your weekends recovering from a job you hate just so you can return to a job that keeps you 2 missed paychecks away from homelessness, and you call this stability. It's not stability. It's high-stakes financial gymnastics without a net. The bankers know this. The credit agencies know this. They know you are one bad medical diagnosis, one corporate downsizing, or one major engine failure away from total collapse. And because you are terrified, because you know deep down how fragile your glass castle really is, you work harder, say yes to the extra projects, swallow your pride when the boss humbles you in a meeting, and keep feeding the beast. You are so busy running on the treadmill that you don't even notice the walls of the room are slowly closing in around you. Now let's talk about the exit door, the narrow escape route that the architects of the maze pray you never discover. You spent your entire adult life running on a polished hardwood floor, convinced that if you just sprint hard enough, your wages will finally buy you peace of mind. They won't. They never will. Because the game isn't designed to be won inside the arena. It's designed to be won by walking away from it entirely. Welcome to the philosophy of stealth wealth, the only true antidote to the modern economic machine. True freedom doesn't look like a luxury penthouse in downtown Manhattan or a brand new Italian sports car parked in a suburban driveway. Real autonomy looks like absolute invisibility. It looks like driving a 10-year-old sedan that runs perfectly, living in a home whose mortgage is a distant memory, and walking into a grocery store without ever glancing at the total at the register. It means having enough liquid capital stashed away in uncompromised assets that you can look a toxic boss dead in the eye on a random Wednesday morning, close your laptop, and walk out the door without feeling a single drop of panic in your chest. That is what we call fuck you money, and it is infinitely more valuable than any shiny watch or status symbol a bank will ever finance for you. Chapter 3. The Silent Escape. To find the exit, you first have to unlearn every single instinct that society drilled into your head since childhood. You have to stop seeking applause from strangers on glowing rectangles. You have to stop treating your checking account as a temporary storage facility for retail therapy. When you embrace stealth wealth, you become a ghost in a machine built by consumerists. You stop funding the neighbor's envy and start buying back your own hours. Every single dollar you save and redirect into cash-flowing assets instead of depreciating liabilities is an extra minute of your life that you've permanently reclaimed from the corporate meat grinder. Think about the sheer psychological weight of that shift. Instead of waking up with a knot in your stomach and a calendar full of other people's emergencies, you wake up to absolute silence. You drink your coffee without a ticking clock dictating your next move. You read books, you build skills, and you invest in things that actually compound in value while you sleep. The architects of the maze want you loud, proud, and deeply in debt because loud people are easy to track, easy to tax, and easy to control. But ghosts are impossible to trap. Let's look at the ultimate reality of your financial existence. You can stay right where you are, playing the high-stakes game of keeping up appearances, working 40 years in a cubicle, just to pay off a life you never even wanted in the first place, until your body gives out and you realize too late that you traded your finite existence for a collection of empty receipts. Or you can decide to stop feeding the beast. You can cut the cord, embrace the quiet power of living below your means, and start building an empire in the dark. The door is right there, hidden behind the noise of advertisements and the pressure of social expectations. It doesn't require a lottery win or an inheritance. It requires cold, calculated discipline and a total refusal to play a rigged game. My name is Daniel Rath. If you made it this far, and you're finally ready to stop being a domesticated pet for the banking system, drop a comment below saying, "Silent engine." Everyone else will think you're out of your mind, but we'll know you're finally awake. See you outside the maze.